Hi guys, so welcome to Noni Plus. My name is Stanley Kimefuna and I'll be your C-sharp instructor for today's class. In our previous lesson, we learned about classes and objects, the difference between class and objects, and with some examples using the student class. And also we used the car class here. So that's the example I gave in our previous class. So today, we are going to learn something that makes creating objects much easier, which is a constructor. What is a constructor? So before I go to define what a constructor is, let me just give you a quick example of how constructor works. A quick example. So let's say, for instance, you go to. So let me uncomment all this. Let me comment this. Okay, so we are good to go. So let's, for instance, you go to a restaurant. Let me bring back my stuff from there. You go to a restaurant. Okay, you go to a restaurant and you want to order for a food. You want to meet the is it the caterer or people serving food? So you ask them, I need a plate of food. So immediately the caterer will give you an empty plate. After giving you an empty plate, you will now take that plate to where the foods are. Maybe there is chicken, there is a salad, there is rice, there is beans. So after you go to this particular container or particular place where this rice is, you say, give me this rice. The caterer will add the rice to your empty plate. And after that, you go to the next one. You say, give me fish. The caterer will now add the fish to that particular empty plate. After that, you will now give you rice, give you stew. So as you are ordering, is now placing the food on the plate. But first of all, what you came with or what the caterer gave you at first is an empty plate. Now, in a constructor, how constructor works. Let me use that restaurant as an example again. Go back to that restaurant again. I need a plate of food. So immediately, you tell the waiter, please, I need a plate of food. So the waiter, you tell the caterer, please, I need a plate of food. So the caterer will ask you, rice, chicken, we have rice, chicken, salad, stew, and all those things. So So first of all, we will not give you an empty plate. We will serve the food on that plate. We will give you. Put the rice you ordered for, put the chicken you ordered for, put the salad you ordered for, put the stew you ordered for, and hand it over to you, not an empty plate. You can see the difference. The first one, you went with the creature gave you an empty plate, and you started ordering, give me rice, give me chicken, so he'll give you chicken. But this one, the caterer will now giving you the plates and also the food at the same time, serving you the plate and the food, serving you the food, serving you the rice, the chicken, and the stew on that plate before handing it over to you. I don't know if you understand. So those are how constructor works. So let me use like a student class. We created a student class here. Let me come here. I'm just trying to give you an example of how a constructor works. So we created a student class called students. Please pay attention initially. And the properties of the student, we have a public string name. We have a public string and age. Let's use these two properties. Now let us create a student from this class. Like we are creating an object of this student. So what we're going to do now, we are going to say student, which is the student class name. Then the name of the object you are creating, let's say student 1. This is student 1. Then equals to what? New, the keyword when you are creating an object from a class, new student. So now what you have done here now is what? The student has been created. But there is a problem. So what you have done here, you have created a student class, but there is a problem. What is the problem? One, we have not assigned any value to that student object. What I mean is that no name, no age. We have not assigned any name or age to this student object. So there where the problem is. So if we want to do that in our previous class, if we want to create an object from this class, we have created an object from this class. So we now start creating this student class now. So what we're going to do now is to do students, that is student1 dot what name is equals to Stanley, and student age is equals to 20. So now what we have done here now, we have created a student, we have created an object from the class, and we have added those properties. We have assigned the value Stanley and 20 to name and age. So the question I want to ask now, can we do this in a faster way? Yes, we can do this in a faster way, instead of creating the student first and adding the details later. So initially we created the student first with properties, and the second step started adding the student details later. So now this is where constructor comes in. Yes, so what is a constructor? Let me give you the definition of a constructor. A constructor is a special method that runs automatically when an object is created. So a constructor is a special method. I get this constructor. It's a special method that runs automatically when an object is created. So its job is to help us give values to the object immediately. So when you create this object from this class, assign the details immediately. Don't go and be assigning it later, because we have a lot of codes here, so we are wasting time. After creating the students, you created the student class, you created the objects of the student, then you now started adding details of the student by saying student.name, student.age. But in the constructor, make it very easy and very fast. So let's see how a constructor works. So let's create a constructor now. And bring down this. Okay, we are still going to use this. Okay, let's say we have this. Let me uncomment this. Let's say we have this student class again. We have name, int, age. So I want to create a constructor. So for now, a constructor has already been created. But if you want to get the constructor, you can tap CTOR, you can do tap. So now we have created a constructor. Okay, so if you notice something, you can see a constructor is having the same name as the class, which is students. A constructor must have the same name as the class. If you want to create a constructor from this class, let me go again. You tap CTOR and you tap. You get a constructor. Now we have created a constructor for this particular class. You can see a constructor must have the same class, the same name with the class student. So let's pay attention. So now what we're going to do now, we're going to assign the parameters or the values to this constructor. Let's say we have string name and we have int age. Please pay attention to this. We have created a constructor, so we're now adding the values. We are adding the parameters to this constructor, which we have a string name and int age. So now if you want to, now let's call this class now. So we have in line 71 and 72, we have the properties name and age. Then in line 73, we have a constructor with parameters name, string name, and int age. So now if we want to assign these values of this constructor to the class, we have name. There's where his name getting from. It's coming from this line 71 is equals to what? Name. So any value you put here will be you equate it to this particular properties here. So we have name is equals to name, and we have age is equals to age. So I don't know if you are getting me. So now we have created a student with a constructor. Now let's watch this magic now. So let's go. So now let me uncomment this right down. Just ignore that. Okay, now so let's now create a student. So we have students, that is the name of the class, student. Then the name of the object you are creating, that is student 1. Student 1 is equals to what? New student, that is a new student. New student is a class. Then what did we pass in these parameters? You can see the parameters is expecting string name and int age. That is what the bracket is expecting. Before, in our initial class, in our initial video, we created an empty student. But now what we are doing here now, we are passing the values now to this parameter. So this particular class is expecting, this particular object is expecting a name and an age inside this bracket. So what you are going to do now, we are going to say the first one is name, Stanley, because it's a string. You have to close it with your so Stanley, and the second one is what? We have the age, let us say 20. So we created the students and we provided the details immediately. Not like the previous one. What we did in the previous one, we created the students, empty students with no parameters. Then we started adding the student1.name is equals to Stanley, student1.age is equals to 20. So we have like 3 extra lines of code we are writing. But now you can see we are just writing just one line of code, which is on line 70. We're only creating the object and passing the parameters, assigning it immediately. We don't have to assign it in the next line or next code. We assign it immediately. The object is created. So we have Stanley and we have what? 20. So if we want to now display this in the console as normal CW, console.writeLine, we have student 1.name and we have a CW students students 1.age. Correct. So now let's run our application. We'll still get the same thing. Stanley, name of the students, and the age is 20. So let's go. Let's run the application. We'll see. You see the value. You see it to be Stanley and what's 20 that will appear on the console. So this is very simple explanation how constructor work. It makes your work easy, readable, and no extra work. So instead of you to adding the values later after creating the object, you add the value immediately you are creating that object. So constructor is like a special method that is called when an object is being created. So I don't know if you get me. So you can see this is the console output here. We have Stanley and we have 20. So you can see this is just how many line of codes are here. We have 3 line of code. But if you go back here, we have 1, 2, 3. Go down. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 5 codes. But now we are just creating the object and assigning the values to the object immediately. Not waiting after you create the object, then you assign it immediately. I don't know if you understand this. So I believe this example I've given you will make you to understand how constructor works perfectly. So let's go to real life example. So imagine, because I like using the example to explain my explain my course or explain my videos. Just say, imagine a school registration form when a new student joins the school. When a new student joins a school, the school immediately asks for what? The school will ask for 1, your name. 2, how old are you? This is a real life example. Please pay attention. How old are you? Then the student provide the information right away. So when you enter a school, the first, what is your name or how old are you? This is the first thing they're going to ask you. So the school doesn't create an empty student. If you remember, the school will not create you an empty student, or will not ask you to just create your name, create a student without providing your name and your age and your rest of the property. It will create your student, create your details of that student immediately. So the school doesn't create an empty student record first and come back later and start demanding for your name and age, and we ask you immediately, what is your name, what is your age, what level of education or something like that. So this is how constructor works. So quick recap, what did we learn today? A constructor runs automatically when an object is created. Let's pay attention. A constructor runs automatically when an object is created. 1, a constructor has the same name as the class. 2, a constructor else gives value to an object immediately. That's what you did there. A constructor has the same name as the class on line 81 and 77. We have student and student. 1, a constructor runs automatically when an object is created. 2, a constructor helps us give values to an object immediately. You can see it gives value immediately to this object. Immediately. 3. So these are 3 things you have to know if you are defining a constructor, if you are writing a constructor. So we have different types of constructor. So I'm going to teach that in our next video, types of constructor. But for now, this is the constructor you are going to learn for now. A simple constructor. How to go about it, how to create it, very easy, makes your work easy, makes your code readable, makes your code very easy to understand. Now your object can be created with useful information from the very beginning. Instead of you creating the object and assigning the details in the next line or in the next code, but now we are assigning details to that object immediately. So in the next lesson, we will learn types of constructor, and from there we go to properties, get and set, and see a better way to work with data inside our class. Don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to like the video, and don't forget to leave a comment below. So if you created a student class, what other information would you add beside name and age? Please put it in the comment section. I will see you in the next one. Thank you.